High visibility friction points regarding legal immigration are sparking sharp concerns across Indian American communities. A deeply unsettling scene unfolded outside Frisco City Hall in Texas, where an anti-immigration rally escalated into targeted hostility against Indian migrants. A far-right crowd gathered to chant inflammatory slogans, including demands to halt what they termed a cultural invasion, while waving banners aligned with fringe political movements. The event reached a flashpoint when an individual publicly tore an Indian national flag in front of a cheering crowd. This deliberate disrespect of a sovereign symbol has drawn widespread condemnation from community leaders who warn that localized anxieties over demographic changes are spilling over into overt xenophobia. While the physical protest involved a relatively small local crowd, research reveals that the underlying hostility is part of a massive coordinated ecosystem online. A recent landmark study by the Network Contagion Research Institute, or NCRI, has pulled back the curtain on a staggering surge of anti-Indian rhetoric across major US social media platforms. The numbers are deeply concerning, with anti-India posts generating more than 18 million views, likes, and reposts. Crucially, researchers discovered that this entire toxic narrative is not a massive grassroots movement, but rather the work of a highly concentrated group. In fact, just 3 specific accounts drove more than 10% of all likes and 20% of all reposts. And there's a clear trigger. This activity spiked after immigration policy announcements during the Trump era. The changes to the H-1B visa rules in particular coincided with a rise in anti-India content. So, the online anger and the policy debate are feeding each other. This rising hostility stands in dark contrast to the immense economic reality of the Indian diaspora, which remains one of the most successful and foundational immigrant groups in modern American history. Numbering over 5 million people, Indian Americans make up just 1.5% of the total US population, and yet their economic and structural footprint is extraordinary. Migrants from India have founded or led 72 of the country's high-value startup unicorns, creating more than 55,000 jobs with a combined valuation crossing $195 billion. Their impact on everyday American commerce is equally monumental, with Indian Americans owning roughly 60% of all US hotels, a sector that supports 4 million jobs and generates $700 billion. Between convenience store ownership and heavy corporate leadership, this single community contributes an estimated $300 billion in taxes every year and drives up to $460 billion in annual consumer spending. The data reveals a stark paradox. A community that forms the literal backbone of America's technology, hospitality, and taxation systems is increasingly being targeted by automated digital hate campaigns and fringe street protests. As tech hubs feel the strain of demographic anxiety, can the US protect the very workforce driving its modern economy? Or will algorithmic anger dictate the future of the American dream? So the big questions that we are asking here: why is anti-India sentiment rising in parts of the US, especially around immigration? Can a small number of social media accounts really shape a larger anti-Indian narrative? How will the Indian government and Indian American community now respond to such public protests? We have Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former Indian diplomat, now with us on the broadcast. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, thank you for being with us. But what an unfortunate moment in which we're having this conversation. Not just this flag tearing incident. We've seen other videos arrive on social media of everyday Indians being harassed by everyday Americans, and this is a deeply, deeply worrying trend, something that will require action from the highest of positions in both India and America.
Thank you, Kabir, for having me on your debate. Yes, it is very painful to see our Tiranga being dishonored and torn to pieces by a xenophobic, racist white American. This is not the American dream. This is the ugly American that used to be written about during the era of the Vietnam War. But who has majority support among the white community? The ugly American, or those who believe that the American dream, which is written poignantly on the in New York City, when the first time an immigrant comes, he says, "All are welcome here." That was the American dream. Now, in that American dream, Indian community, and for that matter, the Chinese community too, I've lived in New York City and worked for the Permanent Mission in New York many years ago. These two communities have contributed, particularly the Indian community, in, as you rightly pointed out, economic development, paying taxes, creating employment, keeping their head down, not getting involved in any practices which could stick out, and people could say these are cultural practices which don't fit in with the United States. Not at all. They adapted to Western dress, they adapted to Western food, they did not live in ghettos, unlike in UK. They were spread out all over the United States of America. What is happening today is that unfortunately, under Trump and the MAGA, increasingly those who are unemployed or who are subemployed, they think that Indians are taking their jobs away. Let us say, Kabir, that 5.1 million Indians decide to take a flight and come back to India with their belongings, with their money, with their investments, etc. Could their jobs be taken over by fringe group MAGA elements? Not at all, because they don't have that kind of education. They don't have the training. They can't run unicorns. So when we are talking about jobs that Indians occupy, there are two kinds of jobs that you pointed out. One is the hotel and motel industry, and the restaurants, and the small shops which operate 7 days out of 7. They're all family-run businesses. And the other, as you again correctly pointed out, is the unicorns, 72 out of 195, which are run by Indians. And here the point is that these kids who come out of school, who are dropouts, even after 8-9 years of schooling, they don't know any math, they can hardly spell their own name. Their education system is in shambles. They don't have math teachers, so they come to us to give them math teachers, etc., etc. They have to understand that Indian American diaspora is there for America's prosperity. But if they feel unwelcome, they will move to other destinations. They can come back to India, or they can move to other places. Many have already started moving to Australia, to Canada, to Amsterdam, etc., because they feel that they don't want their kids to be subjected to this kind of racist act where an Indian flag, you look at this guy with his dark glasses, his face, his body approach, he is just a racist, xenophobic, ugly American. And why should our Indians be subjected to this kind of xenophobic attitude when they are contributing so heavily to American prosperity? So it's up to America to get its act together, clamp down on such racism, and to understand that it is doing irreparable damage in the age of social media. The public opinion here in India also, which had already got swayed because of some of Trump's
Right.
drama, it's going to get swayed against American people.
Yeah.
Kabir.
Yeah, Ambassador Bhasan Krishna over here. The thing is that very important to note here is that this will go on untamed and unchecked if there is no intervention from the Indian government and the US government, isn't it?
Well, Krishna, I think that Indian government's intervention should be behind the scenes
Okay.
because these people are American passport holders. It is a responsibility of United States to protect its citizens regardless of their ethnic origin. They can't say this guy is white, so he has more rights for protection than this woman who's brown and who's an Indian or yellow because she's Chinese. They are if they have American passport and all of them have American passport, legitimate, including 90% of my own family that's settled in the United States, they have the right to demand that the American state, US state, and establishment protect them. We should do damage control from the back because if we step in a heavy-handed manner, they'll say, look, these guys, they don't have any loyalty to the American flag. They don't know how to sing the American national anthem. Their heart and soul is in America, is in India. That is a trap that we should never fall into. The diaspora should demand from the American government their rights as American citizens, including the right to protection. That's my opinion.
Subhashis Mukherjee, I understand the point you're trying to make here. There cannot be any direct intervention, from either of the government. That there has to be, behind the scenes. But this is a insidious online movement. At the end of the day, this is, in a sense, a cyber crime, so to speak. What is being done, and this can have ramifications for future generations. You're talking about people who who will eventually move away from the US. But what about those who can't? This will force migration, and this will force people to let go of lives, extremely successful lives in the US eventually.
I think that the moment Trump loses his midterm, hopefully, things will calm down. All
Okay.
this racism, xenophobia, etc., he loves it because it props up his MAGA base. Which is why, for instance, let's say that the next US president is J.D. Vance with his Indian wife, okay? And she's a practicing Hindu, even though Vance doesn't like that approach. The point is, politics will change.
Sure.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
So I don't think this is a permanent phenomenon.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I
okay.
think it's a temporary phenomenon.
Okay, we also have Dr. Dheeraj Kaul, geopolitics expert, joining us live from the US on the broadcast. Ambassador Bhasan Mukherjee, Dr. Dheeraj Kaul, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us, what is it like to be an Indian American in the US today?
Yeah, that's a hard question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm in California right now, which hosts the largest numbers of Indian diaspora. If you look at the numbers, I'll give it to you. Around 5.2 million Indians live here in US, and around 2 million, approximately 2 million are born in US. So around 3 point some million people, Indian origin people are living here. And the highest number is in California, my state where I'm currently residing, followed by Dallas, 5.2, yeah, followed by California is 930 million, Texas is 930,000, Texas is 545,000, Jersey is 438,000, and New York, my last state where I used to reside, is 417,000. So there is no question in my mind. Indian diaspora is one of the hardest working diaspora, and has contributed big time, like you're showing on your display, to different industry like healthcare. Every fifth physician in US, fourth or fifth, depending what numbers and when do you look at it, is from Indian origin. Around 50 to 60% of hotel industry is owned by Indians. Gas station, if you talk about it, around 25 to 30%. Convenience stores. So VP level individuals in healthcare or even finance are around 30% Indian origin. All top teaching universities, you will see professors from India. So a lot of academia is being contributed by Indians. AI healthcare, where I work in, again, a lot of penetrance from Indian. So India is one of the highest tax-paying community and one of the most law-abiding citizens. It's like a crown jewel of all all immigrant community. Out of the Southeast Asian, 20% are Indian. If you look at that, people living here. But yes, definitely, there is some sourness coming in with the hate crimes which are happening, and it's every week you hear something about it. Especially in Republican states like Texas, you are having increasing in incidences. We had increase in incidences in even Indiana recently, in Georgia. So this is very unfortunate.
So
But
it's across the
overall, if you
length
talk
and
to me
breadth of the
about
US, isn't it? This is not see doesn't seem to have be concentrated in one part of the US, and that makes
exactly.
it that much more scarier, isn't it, Dr. Dheeraj Kaur?
Yes, it does. And matter of fact, if you look at the senators and congressmen here, they are kindly addressing it. That listen, Indian immigrants are one of the most hardworking and the essential fiber of American ethos, and we really need to, live together. And the message is being very clear. And even social media, if you go on, other than this splinters which are spreading hate, most of them are saying that we have to stay together. But it is a very critical time what we are seeing because India-US relationships are, I think, one of the most strained since the beginning of the year after the tariff war started, which has slow affected Indian community. Even you want to buy Indian goods from India, it's way more expensive. And overall inflation in US has increased. One of the reasons why Trump got the powers, cut down the inflation, cut down the wars. So everybody, like in US, including Indian diaspora, is facing the inflation. Luckily, the mean average household income of Indians is way above $100,000, which is much more than $85,000 of American household income. So we have a little bit of cushion there, but still savings are going down. Everybody, like every American, even Indian diaspora, is also concerned. But when you talk about specific targeting of Indians, that is extremely unfortunate. And we as a community, Indians, are getting together and raising these questions with our political leaders and our town home and overall gatherings. But overall, like I have a 2-year-old son, and we definitely, if you look at it, by the way, I don't know if you have looked at the statistics, 65 plus old, 65 years old plus Indian origin people who have born in India, their penetrance to buy real estate in India for retirement has gone up by 23%, which is a very big number. So a lot of Indians which were not considering moving back to India after retirement have increased very significantly from, I think, 11% to 23 to 24%.
Okay. Uh, Dr. Dheeraj Kaur, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Ambassador Basit Mukherjee. What is the solution then? What do you think needs to be done? Or as Ambassador Basit Mukherjee was just saying, the political winds will change. There is the midterms coming up, and she doesn't expect this kind of toxicity to continue for too long.
I agree. The strength of MAGA voter bank has also dropped from 100% backing Trump to 80%. But as you know, you are an anchor, you are in media. Once the bitterness comes in relationship, once the hatred is let go, the genie is out of the box. It's very, very hard. It takes a very strong political will, public support to bring it down back. I don't see that strong will coming from all over, but maybe after the midterms in November, if things change, or even if the policymaker in the current government notice that, by the way, Trump has nothing personally against Indian community. A lot of Republican people come from Indian origin. They have strongly supported. Indians have funded Trump's campaign big time. There's no question. And obviously, Modi ji and Trump have good relationship. But fact on ground is that what you're exactly mentioned, there is a rift coming. You're feeling a little bit of hate crimes are increasing against Indian origin people. Why this is happening, that's a debate altogether in its own. One of them is success of Indian people, Indian people growing very fast in different sectors. People feel they are taking their jobs away. That's why you were seeing H1, which 60 to 70% is enjoyed by Indians, is being proposed to cut down to by 80%. So it will really cause a lot of issues. And currently the wait time of green card from an H1B visa is 120 years.
Okay. Ambassador Bhajatin Mukherjee, one can only hope for a better future every single time. But, this time around, probably, going by what you and Dr. Dheeraj Kaul is saying, we can expect things to certainly improve in the way forward. But there will be that rethink in the minds of all the Indians right now who are still in India and still
Yes.
dreaming the same American dream, isn't it? It won't be the same. It won't be with the same sense of confidence as before.
Number of Indians who wish to go, young Indians who wish to go to US, has fallen sharply. That's not just because the Americans have made the rules more stringent. That's because both the kids and their parents don't want their children to be subjected to this kind of downright racism, physical danger, etc., etc. The number of Americans, as my co-panelists pointed out, the Indian Americans who want to come back after a certain age, that is because India has developed rapidly and it is much easier for older people to be comfortable in India with the kind of amenities that we offer. If you're well heeled, you've got good savings, and you're an Indian American, and you come back to India to settle down here, you have everything taken care of, your health, the best doctors, the best medicines. You can hire a chauffeur for your car. You don't have to clean your own house. You can hire a chef to make the best food for you. You can go on beautiful holidays within India. And you can have the good feeling that at the end of your twilight years of your life, you are coming back to your roots because this is where you belonged until you went there. And the reason for that is that post retirement, and I have a lot of friends, the Indian friends, who say they want to come back because it's no more fun. There's no job to go to. It's, communities are isolated. Public transport is a problem in some of those places where there were settled huge communities and they don't feel secure anymore, maybe at the age of 70 plus, to drive such a long distance into town and come back. And all that is obviated. And they have their property in US, so they can go back a couple of months in the year when just between summer and fall and enjoy the great American summer and autumn and come back to India. And it doesn't surprise me at all. And in fact, this trend, in my opinion, though my co-panelists can correct me, but from the feedback that I have got, and most of my college friends are settled in California actually, and most of them own these enormous estates, they all want to come back eventually because they feel now that India has developed and has everything,
Right.
particularly health facilities.
Dr. Dheeraj Kaul, do you concur with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said,
He doesn't have
elderly
to
people
stand
like
it.
definitely, even before they used to talk about it, I was a geriatrician before, so I was talked to these guys all day long. But lately, after Trump's impact, I'm talking about permanent moving. And absolutely, Ambassador Mukherjee pointed out right. See, I'm in healthcare education counseling, and I can tell you a lot of students who would come here for undergrad. And to be very honest, it actually worked out good. And I'll tell you why. They have shown down less interest in US because when I surveyed the universities, and Ambassador Mukherjee will second it, they were not mostly coming for MIT or Harvard. They were coming for category B or category C institutions. The problem with category B and C after AI, there is no jobs. So they were coming for American lifestyle, pay for 4 years and then get a job where they had no interest and nothing. This is very unfortunate, and I, through your medium, want to bring notice of the government officials. There is a huge nexus of education mafia sitting in India. Every corner street was selling people dream of Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand. But these guys are real estate agents. They have nothing to do with education. They'll sell their own mother for $20 if they could. I have interacted with these guys. They sell you fake promises of job after these institutions just because a university says US or based in California doesn't mean anything. Right now,
Yeah.
the jobs with AI disruption has caused. So it's a high time parents need to take the onus and find out where is the job. Number two, India has great educational opportunities. If you cannot get into IIT, maybe a good time to study one more year for it,
Okay.
or go to MIT if you can. Don't come for category C, D, or E, F, G, H. After that, even American graduates don't get a job. Matter of fact, I'll give you a number. If you it will shock you. I was in Pennsylvania. There was a school. People were coming to study automobile technician course from Delhi. Can you believe this?
Wow.
And it is a 2 year course charging 30,000, no exam needed. Anybody with any score can come in. So their purpose was to come here and do some hotel work, some gas station work, like a visa scam. That's what Trump was targeting. So some fishes have spoiled this entire broth. You
Yeah,
cannot put all the on ice and stuff. But I think
absolutely.
government of India need to take cognizance, because kids are selling their tractors, their farmland, their parents, whatever health insurance, to come here
Yeah,
for a wrong dream, which is sold by a mafia, which is not interested in your future. It's a very, very sickening nexus. I mean, my heart goes out to these kids.
yeah,
I'm not talking about illegal immigrants coming through Mexico. That's a different ball game. I'm talking about student visa.
yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody has to look into it.
Somebody needs to look into it for the welfare of all the other genuine Indians who are looking to go to the US, and all the other
Exactly.
Indians, the achievers in the US who are making the US proud. For the sake of all of them, this nexus needs to be addressed. Action needs to be taken, I'm afraid. We're out of time here on the conversation. With us, Dr. Dheeraj Kaul and Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee. Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on In Your Interest on News 9. And with that, it's a wrap here from my side. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.